Hey guys, Fishing Northern Cali here. Today I'm going to be doing a Boca Bearing install on a Revo SX 3rd generation. What you're going to need for this is a couple of Q-tips, just so you can clean out any old grease and oil that's in there from your previous bearings, because these new Boca Bearing orange seals are dry seal bearings, and if there's any oil or grease in there, they won't perform to their full potential. So you got to get all that out of there just so that they'll perform right. It won't make a huge difference, but you want it working as to the best of its ability. So you're also going to need a couple of Q-tips with the end cut off of them, just so that to help you pry out some of the stock bearings that are tougher to get out. You're also going to need a sharp, not sharp, but a pointed object to get off that spring lock. The spring locks are what hold the bearing in, so you're gonna need something to pry that out. Any dental tools, pliers. I just found this in my workbench, so it works. It's nice and pointy, gets under those spring locks. So also for this particular reel, you're gonna need a pair of spool pin pliers. Boca Bearings makes a great pair of these. You can get them at www.bocabearings.com. And of course, you're gonna need your Boca Bearings. So I also want to point out real quick that I'm using the Boca Bearings work mat to do this install, and this is super helpful because it's got indents all along the outside of here where you can put your bearings and your spring locks, and you won't lose them and they won't go sliding everywhere. It's also just a nice flat surface to work on, so this is definitely a must-have for your installs if you're planning on doing a bunch of them. Okay, let's get started. First thing you're going to need to do to start this install is take the side plate off. To do that, you have to unscrew this right here just by turning it to the left, and then you'll feel that disengage, and once it does, you have to slide it out like that and twist the side plate up, and then it should just slide right off, just like that. Now that your side plate is off, your first bearing is right here. As you can see, there's the spring lock in there that goes around the perimeter that holds the bearing in there, so we're going to have to take that out. To do this, put your finger across half of it or 3/4 of it and take your pointed object and pry out one side of that. And just get under it and pry it up and kind of catch it with your finger and the tool, and it's out of there. Just like that. And then you're going to want to put that in one of your indents just so you don't lose it. It's pretty small, easy to lose. That's why this mat really helps. Then that bearing is it's exposed now, so you can go ahead and get that out. It's usually not going to shake out of there, so you're going to have to take a Q-tip with the end cut off, put it right into the hole, kind of tilt the Q-tip to the side so you get some traction. It should slide right out. It might take a couple tries. There it is, and it should pop right out just like that. You're going to want to set that down on the side of your mat in one of the indents so you don't lose it. And then you're going to take one of your Q-tips and just swab out the inside of that that slot where your bearing was, and get all the grease and oil out of there so the new bearings will perform to the best of their abilities. Be really thorough with this. I mean, take your time. You don't want to rush this. This is one of the most important parts, just getting the oil. I kind of just wipe around it too, just to clean the reel while I'm at it. Okay. There's a little part in there that might shift a little bit while you're in there, but if it does, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's the little waffle kind of grip in there. Sometimes it'll shift when you take your bearing out, but not usually. But if it does, just push it back in there with your screwdriver or whatever you're using. Okay, so now that that's out of there, we're going to take our new bearing and put it right into the slot. It should fit right in there. Kind of push it down, take a Q-tip, push it down in there, make sure it's all the way in, And once you get that in, you're going to take this spring lock that you already took off and put that back in there. So to do this, you got to slide half of it into the indent that's in there, which holds it in, and push on it. And then you're just going to push the other half right in, just like that, and it should click in there. Then take a Q-tip, actually the Q-tip with the end cut off helps more with this, and push down on that spring lock so it all sits in the indent and there's none of it popping up, just like that. So you're done with the side plate now. That's all good. So just set that down on your mat and take out the spool, because that's where our next bearing is. To do that, just the spool will slide right on out there, and the bearing is located on the side of the spool right here. This is held in by a spool pin right here. It's got a smaller end on it and a bigger end. It's tapered, and this is where your pliers come in. So you're going to take your pliers, and your pliers have this pointed part that's the size of your pin on there, and a indent right there. So you're going to put the pointed part on the smaller end of the pin, and you're going to put it vertically like that, so that the fatter part slides into the indent, and you're just going to squeeze, and that'll pop right out of there. Mine just popped out and went flying. So hold your hand on there. Okay, so now that you got that pin out, we're just gonna slide this old bearing right off. Just comes right off of there. Put it in one of your indents once again, just so that so that you don't lose it. And then take your new bearing and again slide it right on there. Goes on really easily. This is the easiest part of the whole install. Slides off, slides on. So you got that new bearing in there. Now you're going to take your spool pin, and once again there's a larger hole on one end of your spool and a smaller hole on the other. So you're going to want to put the smaller side of the pin into the larger hole and kind of slide that in there as much as you can at first. Then you're going to have to take your spool pin pliers, and you're going to line it up with the indent. See this top indent here? It has an open side and a closed side. The closed side is going to go on the bigger part of your spool pin, and the open side is going to go on the smaller part, and that just lines right up there. You squeeze, and it'll line your pin up perfectly symmetrical. Okay, now your spool is done. You don't have to do anything else with the spool. You're good. So again, set it in one of the indents so it doesn't roll away, and we'll get on to the next bearing. Next one is the tension knob, which is located on the side of your reel. You're going to want to line up your drag, your star drag, to where there's an opening so you can get to the tension knob. First thing you're going to do is just twist that off of there, the cap, and do this upside down, because there are some components that might fall off, and if they do, you want them falling right into the cap. Okay, and this black piece doesn't usually come off like that, but you're going to have to take it off with your fingers. It sits right here, and you just pull it right on up. It's not hard. Then put it in one of your indents on your work mat. Okay, so then you'll notice that there's another spring lock in there. Once again, put your finger over 3/4 of that spring lock. Take your sharp object and just pry it right on off of there. Alright, there he goes. Spring lock is off. Just put it in one of your indents, and then that bearing is free. So sometimes you'll be able to pop it on out of there, like I just did. Other times, I'll show you how to do it with the other times. Other times that thing won't come out of there. It's stuck in there. You gotta take your Q-tip with the end cut off and go in through the hole on the back there and push straight out, and there's a rod that comes out with the bearing. You don't want to pull it out of there. See, the rod comes out with the bearing on it like that. And you're just going to take the bearing off of there, and you're going to wipe the grease off of the rod. Okay, both sides of it. Then there's a shorter end with a stopper and a longer end on the rod. Put the longer end down through the tension knob. Just slide right in there, push it down, and it's back in there. Okay, take your new bearing, your Boca bearing, put it right in there, make sure it goes onto that rod, and then just take your Q-tip and push that bearing in there. Make sure you clean out the inside of the tension knob too. I did it previously, but this will pick up a lot of grease, so make sure you clean that. Clean all the components of the reel as you go through it. Just get the grease off of there. And then, so that's back. You put your new bearing in there now. Take your spring lock. Same thing, put half of it in. And then push the other half the rest of the way. So again, put half of it, half of the spring in there. Then the other half just pushes on. Like that. And since this is deeper, that usually won't go all the way on. You're going to have to take your Q-tip and push that the rest of the way down. Okay, that's done. Now take your black piece. It has ridges on one end and smooth on the other with two nubs that fit into the seats on the tension knob. So you're going to want to just seat that right in there. It should go on very easily. Then just take your cap, screw it right back on. Alright, once it starts clicking, you know it's on there. Cool. So now you got your spool. I'm just going to give it another little cleaning, make sure all of that's clean. You're also going to want to clean inside of the reel where the spool sits. Just kind of get all the dust and dirt and grease out of there. And take your spool, take the bearing end in first, and then you gotta find the sweet spot and it clicks right in there. Okay, take your side plate, skinny end goes towards the front, angle it upwards and put it on, and then twist down. Next, screw this back in, righty tighty, and then check your side spool, make sure it's on there, make sure everything's tight, and then you're done, you got it. Your Boca bearings have been installed, so let's see what these things can do. Look at that. That's insane. How much this spins. The difference is amazing. And these will also break in. They're not even at their full potential yet. After about an hour of fishing or so, you'll hit the max cast and max free spool and all that. So they get better too. I mean, you think this is good, they get better. I'll show you the free spool now. Do it again. Alright, look at that free spool. Oh my gosh. Still going. 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 Still going, and stop. That is insane. When you test this though, you're going to want to make sure your tension knob is as loose as it goes. Mine wasn't even that loose. Brakes are off, and then you can try it out. and you will see the difference right away. One other thing though, after your install, you will hear the reel a lot more, just because they're ceramic bearings and they're a little bit louder, so you'll hear them. But that's a good thing. That's the sound of smoother reels, longer casts. It's all good, so that's normal. I'll show you free spool again. Now loosen the tension knob. Look at that. Still going. Still going. That's insane. Still going. Still going. Still going. Still going. Still going. And stop. Alright, thanks for watching. Make sure you go pick up your Boca Bearings work mat and your spool pin pliers from www.bocabearings.com. And yeah, so I'll include the size of the bearings that I used in the description, just for your guys' reference. And thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe. I'll be posting a lot of fishing videos pretty soon. So thanks for watching.